Hey, hey, hey. I just got through watching. It's like eating spiritual food and getting that itis. My eyes are tired. I'm laying here, but I'm full. Just finished up watching Cannon's class with KRS One. It was about a 3-year-old um, YouTube video, and just really good stuff. I hope the book is out now that he had talked about. It was in manuscript form, KRS1. Please go check out the YouTube um, channel on Nick Canning's show. I'm just here to fan the flames of the gods and the kings and the magicians and the priests and the leaders of our time, the living, the breathing, the ones that have the most power. You know, it's one thing to talk about disembodied entities and demons and monsters and ghoulies and vampires. It's close to Halloween, but what's a lot less scary is people that don't mind sitting down and shaking hands again and embracing each other physically, and talking about real action items that will bring us closer together as humans on the planet, as breathing animals. I use that word in context of those that need to consume and go through that process of consuming and defacing in order to survive in this physical form. The meat eaters, the carnality of our spirituality and divinity. To sit among the angels, to sit among the stars, to sit among hip-hop, to me, is the Jacob turn Israel in music. And so when it's time to sing a different song or different tune, we are introduced and invited to a new sound, a new frequency, a new vibration. And so it's bigger now than black people. It's bigger than poverty. It's a rich culture. It talked about culture versus corporation, and corporate just means body. And so again, hip hop is more than a hip. It's more than a hop. As I listened to it, there were times that a line or a bar, as they would call it, was dropped, and like there was a statement of power, but Nick would be like, or Chris would be like, bars. There should be a scribe and a timestamp person in every class. I don't know how many people were on the fourth wall, but listening to them, but they can't always think and take notes and speak all simultaneously. That's why you have the artist, and Chris was talking about the way that stories and information used to be conveyed through, again, oration, speech, storytelling, language, and artwork, was also introduced. But like I said, one person did the speaking, another person may have been acting it out or drawing it out or chiseling it in stone or writing it on a scroll. All of these are part of the core, the 5 fingers, the 2 legs, the arm, and the arms and the head. That's what I'm about, is knowing that we as an individual are a corporation. I found that out just recently, I would say the last couple of months, that a single person can act as a corporation. I didn't know that. There was a time where you needed a minimum of 5 principles, and correct me if I'm wrong on that information, as far as now one person can do it. But even if you can't do it from a legal standpoint of the physical laws in this matrix, I'm talking surely on a divine level. That is the story of Mary having the inception of a conception and delivering the Christ child without an earthly father, only the imagination of inception. And so that's the miracle and the spontaneity of life. That's the aha of life. For men to step out of the way, to understand something before the atom, before the twin, before the two became one flesh. And so that's the, I don't know, metaphysical parables, metaphors, hyperboles and all of that. Whether you believe it was a true immaculate conception or just an immaculate idea to come up with a fantastic story. Whatever you believe, the fact that it has lasted for 2,000 years before it was questioned in a way strong enough for us to start trying to decide for ourselves, what do we believe and why? How did a story like that, true or false, fact or fiction, how did it last for so long? It lasts because we repeat the stories. We don't always look at the stories for ourselves. One of the things that Nick Cannon asked KRS One was the kind of books that he would recommend, and I just love his first answer, which is my book first, as an author, and not as a arrogant kind of way, but again, what would, if you've penned something, why would you put another author before yourself? We are the authors and the finishers of our faith. The King's domain is inside of us, and we execute with our authority. And so from there, he went on to say that a passport should be your next book. And, let the world be your school. This is Earth School. Bible was said to be an acronym for basic instructions before leaving Earth. And it is time for us to ascend, again, in a metaphorical way. We don't have to physically go out into outer space in order to leave the anagram of the heart, the anagram of the earth here, to the throat chakra, to the first eye or third eye, pineal gland, decision making. You want to be somebody, you want to go somewhere, wake up, knock on wood. And I saw that anagram as well, KNOW. When you knock, the K is silent. And the anagram or the acronym of knock on wood is to know. So this is about know thyself and to thine own self be true. And so he mentioned his book first, and then passport book. I would say the very next book should be a dictionary or etymology book, because again, it opens you up to all the words in the English language, and at some point you'll start to see the patterns. You'll start to see words that come before and after a word, and how those words are a kind of family group. You'll see the etymology, but again, for me, I would definitely say, how much richer we would be if we have the oration of our ancestors right here, the physical auditory of our ancestors. Since we do not, we channel them through the films that we have, through the books, through our imagination, and so they are not lost. I really appreciated it. It was about an hour and a half long, and Nick said it was his favorite thus far. Again, it was 3 years ago, but that's the power and the fluidity of the times that we live in. One of the things I want to really bring home or drive home was KRS One talking about how our children, first of all, that we should never let go of their hand, and how our children will look back and reflect on how we treated them when they were in their vulnerable state when they were maybe not making the wisest choices. And again, because I believe so much in legacy, and people talk about and they honor the ancestors, which they should, but how do you honor your ancestors and tear down your children? You shouldn't. And so I'm just encouraging my stomach, growling and making zoo noises. I'm encouraging our living legends, my personal children. Again, like KRS once started with his own book for recommendation. I honor my own flesh and blood first. I give honor to the living as well as those who have transitioned on. My children will know their legacy. They will know as much as I can give to them. And so these videos are just that. They are my documentations, because it can go a lot faster than a book than I can write. And I do plan to write and to scribe more in a more cohesive, legible and readable manner. But until then, we have this instantaneous ability to convey and to document into the immortal library of a YouTube account, an IG account, whatever platform you decide. It's almost impossible to undo. Somebody could record, even if you deleted it, somebody could record the screen and keep a copy, So I'm just saying we have to be much more conscious and cognizant of knowledgeable, recognizing our own knowledge and power. Recognize what we do know, not focus so much about what we don't know. We all have access to the alphabet. We all have access to 0 through 9. So in true essence, what more do we really need as far as knowledge? Every book is a tree of knowledge, and every physical person is the tree of life. And so even if they have, like I said, transitioned on, their memories, their imprint upon this world cannot be undone. Everybody's signature that has graced this planet is still here for our learning, for our growth, for our lessons. And I just want you all to share this video. Go check out Cannon's class, see what's on there. I'm just gonna lay into this right now. Maybe a couple more videos, just kind of catechizing everything that I've heard, because it's all in time. And from the word time, we emit, and from emit, me, it, I'm it, you're it. But we got to get past the cross. We got to get past the blood and the gore. Yes, life can be messy, but make sure that we handle our blood-borne pathogens and our airborne and our surfaces, that we handle them in proper manner. And more than anything, do that in spiritual protocol and emotional hygiene, keeping our mind clean, keeping our mental health sane, and doing so by just not falling for the dum-dum of language. Like, so there's just too much generalization to try to come across and meet and reach everybody virtually. We have to have face-to-face conversations where someone is documenting, okay, these are the things that you guys talked about and we caught. When you say these little catchphrases, we want to go back and review so that you can digest and chew on the bone and get down to the marrow. And again, these are songs that can be birthed out of podcasts and Canon class and Valcast and KRS-One, dropping gems and nuggets and gold and, diamonds, diamonds that cannot be stolen. And it blessed me to hear him talk about adorning ourselves, and that's nothing new. As long as we don't take on the enemy's nature of, I didn't win, so I'll steal it, I'll take it, I'll hurt them so I can have the crown. These are crowns of integrity. Nobody can take this crown. Nobody can take these jewels. These are my jewels. This is my jewel, my imagination. So while the rings and the diamonds and the pearls, I plan to have them all. I plan to adorn my daughter and lavish my sons and my granddaughter and my grandsons and their children. That is going to happen. That has happened in my mind. Meanwhile, in the ethereal realm is where I dress them with pearls of righteousness, pearls of wisdom, the teeth to match, the wisdom of traveling the world and meeting other cultures and not feeling the need to pit culture versus corporate. How about a corporate culture or a culture that is corporate, which is one body? So that's that's where I come from, and I speak it from language. I speak it from the only language that I'm well versed in. I know etymology, I know a few words in French and other languages, but when it comes down to the puzzle of life, as they've been talking about, the language and the game of life, the fantasy of life, then I think that's where Black women could really use their boost, because we've taken the physical hits, we've taken the mental hits, the mental stress. Men are more easily prone to go and escape in a game, Game Boy or whatever it is, PS4, Xbox or whatever. That seems to be okay. It's even okay for them to escape into war games and, whatever the case, that's a place, because this is supposedly a fantasy world. So where did the reality of making sure bills got paid and electricity doesn't go off, where does that come from? The woman, and it doesn't feel like a game. So releasing our mind to think more imaginative, to take the pressure off of, if I don't do this, it won't get done, or if I don't do this, the world's going to come to an end. Just pulling back from that crisis, pulling back from that which is critical, and start to praise ourselves for the job well done when we've taken ourselves and life so seriously. And now we can ease up and see God has brought us through even before we were awake. God was mindful of us even when we are sleeping and watching over us, and we have guardians and all kinds of invisible protection. So again, shout out to the ladies, the shout out to the queens, shout out to the kings that are cognizant and honest about the knowledge of where they came from. Before we start talking about the stars and the space and the cosmos and the ancestors and the invisible things we cannot see, we know we came from a mother, and sometimes that's what that piece of paper is for. We're talking about being sold into slavery and all that kind of stuff. And again, I'm glad KRS-One cleaned that up. Nobody can put you in slavery. Let's turn that slave into evals, and let's evaluate who we're listening to and why, and does it make us feel better at the end of it all. So that's the spiel for it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming by. I love you all, and I'll see you in South Carolina, Florida, Texas, wherever the mission takes me. I'll be there, and we can talk, we can discuss, and we can put in plans of action to make sure we're on the right commonality. If we have enemies and wars to be fought, let them be one in the mind first and foremost. We should be beyond physical violence and words of violence. All right? Take care, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.